If they do that, the Cougs will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Off the window, no. Roberts tries to get it. Shed for the win. Got it.
Just with 14 points, but you just look, the way that he dominated the game was in controlling the pace and making smart decision after decision.
Call him by Slamma Jamma.
Go to pizza spot before or after.
The dream is alive for Houston. Go Coogs. Let's go.
The dream was alive for Houston till the final seconds. They got a good look. Emmanuel Sharp had a decent look at a three. Was right on line, just didn't hit. And Houston ended up falling just short in what turns out to be a cutthroat way to end the season for the Houston Cougars. The story of the game, Jamal Shead left the game at the 6:38 mark in the first half after he rolled his ankle on a play that he's probably done millions of times growing up playing basketball. He was literally just driving, planted wrong, ankle rolled, and he did not return to the game. And Houston, who played a phenomenal defense on the Duke Blue Devils, were not able to score enough points to advance. Joining me as always, Chris Garner and Dayon Dunlap. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing fine. I don't get these last two comments from the folks chiming in, but I'm doing fine.
Yeah, Effie Sampson needs to consider load management, and Jay Mitch says it gets
load management for a rolled ankle. How do you predict that? A rolled ankle.
It was a fluky play. I mean, one bad plant,
Andy,
and that derailed the game.
You described it. He's done that. He's driven to the hoop many times. Tonight, he rolled his ankle. I mean, that's bad luck. That's not load management. I mean, you're going to be frustrated with the loss. Okay, that's fine. But what is load management? They didn't play. They played Sunday. Today's Friday. He was rested. This wasn't because of he was tired. He rolled his ankle. That's bad luck. That's what that is. Go ahead, Dayon. I'm sorry, brother. How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing good, man. Hell of a season. Tough way to go out. But our boys fought, though. They fought. And so, tough way to go out, but proud of this team.
And Jay Mitch, elaborate on your comment as well. Figure out what offensively. They shot 50% in the second half. They missed 3 shots, the last 3 shots in the paint. I mean, they had good shots. Point blank. They missed. I mean, come on. They had a chance in this game. We can talk about the missed free throws. Juwan, his right hand injury was improving, but it's hard to grip the ball and shoot, with basically one hand from the foul line. He was never a good free throw shooter to begin with. 3 for 8 tonight. Javier Francis 1 for 4, including an air ball, and that 2 misses in the first half. Those are the guys who shot free throws. It wasn't LJ Cryer. It wasn't Emmanuel Sharp. Obviously it wasn't Jamal Shead. That's how it happens. I mean, this is bad luck. The cloud is hanging over this program. That's the last thing remaining for this franchise is injuries, to avoid injuries. But this is a hell of a year. And they had a chance. That shot was on line by Emmanuel. It was just short. I mean, this is basketball. Coach Sampson says every year, typically before season starts, but sometimes during the season, everybody is a rolled ankle away from being mediocre. Right? I've heard that before. Well, damn it happened tonight at the worst possible time for the Houston Cougars. Jamal Shead rolled his ankle on a drive to the hoop.
Yeah, it really took the life out of the sorry, battling some throw. It really took the life out of the team after he went down. Like, they went on a scoreless streak after they kept showing it on the teleprompter and the CBS broadcast. Like, they were outscored by so and so as the game progressed since Jamal Shead's injury. And then really, as the game got into the second half and it kept getting closer and closer to those 000s, when the camera would pan to Jamal Shead, you could see the emotion in his face clearly frustrated that he couldn't do anything about it. It's just gutting. But at the end of the day, like you said, Chris, there's nothing much you can do. It was, again, not to reiterate and sound like a broken record, it was a fluke on a rolled ankle, and Duke made more plays. Give credit to Duke because that was a physical game. Houston, for the most part, the officials, I think, let them play for the most part. They had a couple of calls here and there, but I think overall, Houston will take the way the game was officiated. Houston played phenomenal defense on Duke. They actually ended up, this game in many ways reminded me of that Villanova game, the Elite Eight game from a few seasons ago. You look at how the statistics ended. Both teams shot 41% from the field. For a good stretch, UH had the better field goal shooting percentage. Points in the paint, dead even, 26 all. Points off turnovers, Houston had a slight edge. Houston got Duke to turn the ball over 14 times. The only thing, free throw shooting, Duke went 8 for 12. Houston, obviously, 9 for 17. With all those misses coming from Javier Francis and Jawan Roberts. Duke hit some big shots, some tough shots. Kudos to them. Filipowski, Jeremy Roach came up clutch and towards the last final minutes. Ball bounces with short one way like Emmanuel's was. Could be a different game, but it wasn't meant to be.
Jeremy Roach scored all 14 of his points in the second half. At some point, if he were healthy, Jamal Shead would have been on Jeremy Roach.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen that way. LJ Cryer had 3 of his 4 turnovers in the second half. Tyrese Proctor took the ball from LJ twice. That doesn't happen often. The Cougs had a chance, in spite of all of this, the injury to Jamal, missing free throws by your bigs. They had a shot, a 3-point shot by Emmanuel Sharp, and it was just short. It was online, as Andy said. It was online. It was just short. That's how it's simple to say it. It hurts to say it. I'm a proud alum. That's how the ball bounces sometimes. Sometimes it goes your way. Sometimes it doesn't. But 32-5, first in the Big 12. Hell, come on now.
Yeah, I think those stats are misleading when you just read them that way. Primarily looking at the second half when Duke had much more shot attempts at the field goal, at the goal than Houston got in the second half. And so just that second half was a difference. I think the team settled in. I think they were in shock after that first half when Jamal went down. Second half, they seemed much settled offensively and actually shot the ball well in the second half, but just not enough. Jamal does so much in regards to, getting downhill and getting in the paint. I think when you take him away, LJ and Emmanuel, most of their shots are predicated from Jamal either getting inside and collapsing defense and kicking out. And some of LJ comes off the screens, and he did a great job. I want to give him kudos for second half, stepping up, making shots when the team needed. I think, in my opinion, he should have been a little bit more aggressive and looked to score a little bit more. Needed 25 shot attempts from him. I think he needed to get the ball up a little bit more, but kudos to him. He stepped up when the team needed. J1, I'm proud of this team. I have no regrets in the way the game ended. The team played well as they could play without their best player.
Jay Mitch's comment.
Our biggest regret is the injuries. That's the biggest regret. But you can't. That stuff happens, man. That's the biggest regret. Is this team come tournament time just has not been fortunate enough to be completely healthy. That's how it goes. How do you think Kansas feels? Kevin McCullough, key cog to their offense. This is injuries part of it. It sounds trite to say, but it's legit. That's part of basketball. It's a bad break.
It's a bad break, but it's enough about the injury, I think. Let's talk about the game. We know how much of the injury had an impact on the game, but there was still a game in the second half. And to Jay Mitch's comment, I think he didn't understand the game plan. I think watching the game, having Malik bring it up, and like I just mentioned with Jamal, I think putting Malik in those pick and rolls to see if he was going to get downhill, because he has the ability and athleticism to get downhill and do some of the things in regards to what Jamal could do, to see if he can open up for Emmanuel and LJ, because most of LJ points had to come either off the dribble or pick and roll. And so try to get him some easy looks with Malik handling the ball at the top. I think that's what the game plan was when he was kind of bringing the ball up some. But overall, I think just need a little bit more from Emmanuel. That was my X factor. I needed more from him. I think next season, off season, he takes that next step, continue to work on his ball handling and be able to create for himself. That's the difference between him and player like Tremont Mark, for example. Tremont Mark would have been an excellent player in this game if we would have had him, somebody who can get the ball in hands and go get a bucket. LJ did a good job of that, but that's not really his forte. That's why I tip my hat to him for doing what he did, stepping up and making the plays that he made. But Emmanuel must step up in that point of his game next year. Love with Jaywan. He made shot after shot. But Filipowski, I mean, he was the best player on the floor. He made some unbelievable plays. Threes, blocks, rebounds. The big man moved on Javier down low. He took over.
Yeah, Filipowski showed why he's a high NBA prospect in this game. And to add on to Mitch's comment, it looked like a lot of times the reason why U of H was holding the ball is because they were trying to set it up so they could get the ball into the hands of Juwan Roberts and let him go to work. And again, give credit to Duke because they matched. I feel like they did a great job matching U of H's physicality and making it tough for the Cougars to run their offense a lot of times. And by the time Juwan Roberts, Javier Francis at the time would get the ball, there's 10 seconds less on the shot clock. And it forces them to have to speed up. And a lot of times it led to a lot of the ugliness, especially when you think of a couple of the last possessions in the final 5 minutes where LJ Cryer runs into Juwan Roberts and ends up getting ripped by the Duke player. There was a lot of those moments. So some of it was just what they were trying to do. And I mean, the best offensive player on the floor at that point, or at least when it came to how they were able to get buckets a lot of time, was to go to Juwan Roberts in the post.
And I wanted him to go to him more, but he missed free throws. He split free throws down the stretch. And that hurt. You know, LJ getting stripped by Tyrese twice. That hurt. So the ball handling, only one ball handler kind of stuff. This is who the team has been all year. We've said all numerous shows. Deion has said he like LJ to work on his handles more, improve his handles, be more of a creator one-on-one. Emmanuel Sharp, same thing. It's a part of the development. You just can't have perfect players all throughout the lineup. Jeremy Roach took over for Duke when Filipowski wasn't scoring. It was the two-man game for Duke in the second half. Jared McCain in the first half. Turnovers. He looked like a freshman when Jamal Shed was guarding him. He struggled. Turnovers. No Jamal Shed. They went to Jeremy Roach. They went away from Jared McCain in the second half. They relied on their veteran point guard, Jeremy Roach, to handle the offense and score, get into the paint. If it wasn't him, it was Flip. Filipowski. It's just, hey, that's how it works. But the Cougs had a chance. They were down 3 and had a good look, and the shot just fell short.
Seeing a lot of comments. H-Town Big Dobbs brought up the fact, I guess he's really critical about UH having one ball handler. I think for the most part, now obviously it was not the way Jamal Shed ran it, but I think LJ Cryer did more than a decent job of being able to initiate the offense for Houston down the stretch. What say y'all?
Yeah, I think he's so too. I think he did a good job of playing, setting up the offense, playing through pick and rolls, making the plays when he had. I think he did a good job. It's just selfishly, as a fan, I wanted him to be more aggressive, but he did a good job. I think so. And I think the team is just so used to having Jamal and playing with Jamal and so dependent on him. I think Damian can handle the ball and play through pick and roll, but it would have been foreign having him in it with this team, put the ball in his situation based on the season. And so I think it's more predicated how we're so Jamal Shed dependent and what the team, like Chris said, this is what the team has been all year. I give credit to Sampson and staff in the second half, settle them down and having them more prepared offensively because they was more efficient. Just needed to be a little bit more aggressive, get more shots up, and in result, give more offensive rebound opportunities. Because those offensive rebounds that they got and then putbacks towards the end of the game, Javier got a good one, just missed it. I think Jaywan got it, just missed it. And so just more shots up, and that's what Jamal does, putting pressure on the defense. And so it really just more of the way the season played out and how great Jamal was all year.
And further to, I think all of our point, being critical of lack of only one good ball handler. Ramon Walker penetrated the defense pass to Juwan Roberts. Juwan dropped the ball out of bounds. You'd want that. A drive, kick to your man in the paint. Jamal Sheard couldn't do any better than Ramon on that drive. Javier on the putback in the paint. How'd that happen? Damon got in the paint. How'd that happen? There wasn't Jamal Sheard on that. Damon got in the paint, left the shot short, rebound, putback was short. These things, all the nitpicking about, we didn't have Jamal, how you don't have one ball handler. Well, how did the team shoot 50% in the second half without Jamal Sheard? They got good looks. They just missed and got some bad bounces.
Shout out to Ramon, too. He played well, hit a big three. I love his aggressiveness. I feel like, I don't know, it just seemed his game was, for that game, he was just ready. But I agree with Jay Mitch on this wholeheartedly. I definitely agree with this comment by Jay Mitch. I thought Damian will as well, but I think just the way the season played out, Coach Sampson and staff was trying to figure out what the team needed from him in regards to the role. But yeah, man, it was tough. I think Jaywan, he played huge. Ramon was huge. Javier and Spurs, I can understand now watching the game why they had Jaywan on Philip Pass because of the strength. Mm-hmm. You could tell how much stronger he was than Javier. But overall, the team fought. They had a chance to win. Coach Sampson kept them in the game. Plays coming out of timeouts, they was executing. LJ hit big shots. But it was tough without the lead dog.
Emmanuel had a drive baseline, had a baseline shot, left it short. That's a good look. They had a lot of good looks without Jamal Sheard, but they still missed the shots. And, of course, they missed the free throws. I've harped on it all season, how I want them to go into the post more to Juwan. They only took, 8 threes in the whole game? This was old school basketball.
Because you think most of the threes are set up by Jamal.
Yeah.
And so it's
this
tough.
Was old school basketball. Their bigs miss free throws. But like I said, Emmanuel Sharp, that drive and 3-point play he had to cut it to 3. I'd like to see him do that a little bit more tonight. I want to see him do that more next season when the threes aren't going. Or just beat folks off the dribble and attack the basket.
He did that a lot. Yeah, I do want to give him his credit, though, because he did prove throughout this year that he can attack the closeout and do just like you said. But I agree with you. I think I wanted to see more of that because that adds to just his ability to be much more than a shooter, which he's shown that. But I think that next step is be able to do that, plus create space off the dribble and get his jump shot like he intended to do on that very last play.
And I don't want to – we can pick on it, everybody. Malik Wilson fouling Jamie Rhodes with 1.1 second left on the shot clock. That's 3 free throws. 1.1 second left on Duke's shot clock. Jamie was not going to score on that possession. Coogs lost by 3. Little things like that happened also in the game. Little breakdowns like that happened, hurt the Coogs. So you combine those 3 free throws that Roach got, plus the 8 free throws that Javier and Juwan missed. You take Roach's threes away and say Juan and Jay make 4 of those 8 they missed. Cougs win. But that did not happen, and the Cougs lost by 3.
Real quick, let's pay some bills. Let's First, start with a thank you to Steve Saxenian, who's the primary sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. This is Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. A big thank you to Steve Saxenian because he was a primary sponsor all men's basketball season long, beginning with game 1 in November all the way to tonight in the Sweet 16. So we can never say thank you enough to him. Once again, Let's Rage Coogs, the original Houston post-game show after each and every single Cougars men's basketball and football show. We also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsors on today's episode, starting with BB's. BB's Tex Ordnance has 14 locations to serve you. Build your boil with us today. And a big thank you to BB's Tex Ordnance for being a sponsor throughout the entire NCAA tournament run. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Vincent Harding, who is the sponsor of the ticker that you see scrolling at the bottom on our video platforms of Let's Rage Coogs. He is a UH alum and he is a real estate agent. So if you're interested in contacting his services, you can do so at 832-758-2712. And last but not least, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza. With 3 locations across the Houston area, Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. And let's hear a word from Star Pizza, and we'll talk more about this game and kind of start looking ahead at next season on the other side of this commercial break.
I have favorite places to eat, but only one place can be the official spot of the Ryan Elvin Fan Club, Houston's own Star Pizza. Whether we're grabbing a New York slice or a Chicago-style pizza, a salad with homemade dressing, or feasting on the Tuesday lunch buffet, my friends at Star Pizza always make me feel right at home. 3 locations in the Houston area, plenty of room in the dining rooms or the private room for your group. Plus, it's super easy to order online at starpizza.net. Don't forget to get a Cougar Red Velvet Cupcake when you place your order. Tell them Ryan Elvin sent you.
So, seeing a lot of the comments, some people have a lot of hot takes following this Houston loss to Duke in the Sweet 16 round. Well, before we get into more discussion of this game, let's talk a little bit about what the team could potentially look like this season. And very well could be a much different team considering the amount of seniors that were on the program. Think of the ones that were honored at senior night. Start with obviously the head of the snake in Jamal Shed, who again, heartbreaking for him that he didn't get a chance to end this season on the court with his Houston team. Jawan Roberts, LJ Cryer, Damian Dunn, Malik Wilson, all seniors, all could potentially have just played their last game for the Cougars.
Jamal Shed, if I posted it on my Twitter platform, I think most of my social media platforms yesterday, the press release he announcing his deal with the local Houston area mint company, minting coins, whatever. A line in the press conference states the coins will be released this summer as Jamal Shed prepares for the NBA draft. Okay, that's in the press release. So I don't expect him to come back. This injury to his ankle might frustrate him enough to say, I don't want to go out like this. That's possible. I'm not sure how likely that is. But this team is going to look different. I don't believe all the seniors who can come back will come back. I doubt Jamal comes back. But this team will win games next year. And it'll come down to tournament time next year. If they're healthier come tournament time. And then if they are, then they have a great chance to win that championship. In LJ
What do you guys think about?
He's not a must.
Yeah, I was going to touch on Damian Dunn and LJ Cryer. They were transfers. Obviously, they had first year with the program. Reed Kaiser, who went all in, really focused on the transfers. I don't know about calling LJ Cryer bust. He played pivotal key minutes for this team down the stretch over the course of the tournament and I mean, even in this game, he hit a couple of big baskets to keep them in the position that they were in the final seconds.
Yeah, to me, that sounds like a fair weather fan who hasn't been tuned in all season. So for me, I'm not going to give that fan any energy because we know how true that isn't. So I'm not even going to give an opinion on it. But to like Chris's point, to kind of piggyback off of that, I think I think Damian should come back in my opinion. LJ, I don't know. We've talked about it in a previous show. I don't know. He had a good year. I was very proud of him. I think he proved that he can run a team, especially in the moments that how he played today in this last game. But I'm looking forward to it. I think the player is probably going to have the most hype, who had hype around him since he came in, is Terrence Arsenal. I think it's time for him to step into their starting lineup. I expect for him to be a starter, and I expect for him to be one of the leaders on the team in regards to statisticals and being counted on to produce on a game-in, game basis. And like Houston program, I don't think that'd be necessarily dependent on one player, but I do expect him to take a noticeably step next season. Although he missed this season, I still expect for him to take a gradual step, and I'm hoping that he will. Him and JoJo as well. I think JoJo is going to take a big step and probably win most improved, because I think he's going to take a big step, probably be in the starter next year as well.
A game like tonight, JoJo Tugler's absence was felt, but the Cougs did the best with what they had. And I'm going to, you put it up. What hype? He led the team in scoring tonight. He was all district. He was honorable mention all conference. And I mean, what more do you want? As Dayon said, as Coach Kelvin Sampson has said numerous times, he does not run the offense to have a 20-point scorer. Okay? The offense is a balanced offense. He has guys who can score 20 points on a given night, but he does not run an offense to have a guy average 20 points per game.
I mean, did you watch the game, Reed? What do you mean? What did he do when it mattered? He stepped up and scored buckets. Did you see that one bucket when he split two defenders on the baseline to score? Like, he stepped up. I wanted more from him, but you got to give credit where it's due. It's not even a 3-point game if LJ doesn't do what he did. Making that bucket to end the first half. He stepped up big time. I got to give credit to LJ. No LJ slander will be tolerated tonight. And not here, it will not. He stepped up tonight. No, take that.
Andy, go on, Andy. Go
I was going to say, when we look ahead at Nick Season's team, LJ Carr, you guys said it. There's nothing much more we can say. If you're really going to nitpick and talk about some turnovers, which again, the big one down the stretch just came down to miscommunication between him and Roberts, where they ran into each other, and then the layup bad angle, but those happen millions of times in any given game. So
no, let's go down this road briefly. The second foul on Dwan Roberts in the first half was an offensive foul. Okay, when he sat down, that was before I think Jamal rolled his ankle.
Yeah,
the offense was going through Juan on the post. That second foul was big, and Jared McCain basically just stopped defending Juan and just stood still, and Juan backed into him and pushed him down. That's a foul. Shame on Juan for doing that.
I disagree with you, Chris, only because I'm gonna say that's a flop. Jay Juan is stronger than him. He didn't forcibly put contact on him. That's simple, just a back down. It wasn't like I'm trying to fold you over. I disagree. I just disagree with you. I disagree with that. I know what you're saying, but
but I'm saying Jared stopped. He stood still.
No, he did.
So any contact, ref's going to call a
took
foul.
His contact test.
But I'm just going down the list of we can pick where folks went wrong. Javier airballed a free throw. Malik fouled a 3-point shooter with 1.1 second left. Juan missed shots in the paint. Damien missed shots in the paint. On and on and on. On and on. We can fine tune any little thing. Ramon had a three-point shot that was long after he made a three, after he switched to three. This team had a chance to tie the game and force overtime, and the shot fell short. In spite of missing 8 free throws from their 2 big players, they had a shot. That's what you want.
Yeah.
And I would say the only real hype there was around LJ Cryer would have been if there were some comparisons to Marcus Sasser, but they're completely different players. So there was hype, there was excitement in terms of what he brought to the table coming from Baylor, but I wouldn't say there was huge expectations in terms of what his role was going to be, and he was going to come in here and take the team by the reins. This was clearly going to be a team led by Jamal Shead the moment last season ended.
Yeah, LJ Cryer came in as an offensive player, not defense. He came to Houston as an offensive player, as a three-point shooter. He added to his all-around game this season as part of the Houston Cougar culture. He bought into the system. Took him a while, as Coach Sampson says, to surrender to the culture. Became a very good defensive player. So I don't know what other things you want from him. He did his part tonight. 4 turnovers, 3 of them second half. That happens. As Andy said a couple times. One of those, Dwan Roberts basically ran into LJ and got in his way. He had nowhere to go. Miscommunication. Those things happened in this game. Hey, let's ask this question. Flip it around. How many fans thought the Cougars would win the Big 12 regular season with just 3 losses before the season started?
How many of them thought after the first 3 games of conference play when they lost back-to-back on the road?
And I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure it'd be none. Answer who's watching on all our platforms right now. Answer be 0. Because I remember after the second loss, boy, Big 12. Oh, man, this year is tough. It's tougher than we thought. I remember that. Go even further back. Dayon, Andy, remember this? After the Cougs lost to the Australian national team, man, it's going to be a long year. Oh, boy, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know, Kelvin. Oh, boy, life in the Big 12, man. If we can't compete with the Australian national team, we're in trouble. Y'all remember that? Remember hearing that? 32 wins later, a Big 12 regular season championship later, injuries happen, and that's the biggest bummer of this season is the injuries because it robbed this team from maximizing its potential this season.
Definitely did, man. 100%. Definitely. Shout out to Jamal, man. Great year for him. Everything I expected and more throughout his entire career. I mean, he's going down with the best Cougar point guards, one of the best Cougar point guards. Make sure I say that correctly. And but shout out to him. I think just looking forward, I expect Emmanuel to take a step, but I want to see who's going to take that point guard position. That's going to be important. But also who's going to bring up that low post threat from going back from Breon Brady to Fabian to J1. Houston has always had a low post threat, someone they can throw the ball in to the post. Who's going to be that player? I think JoJo still will take a step, but will he develop into being a low post threat? I don't know. I think he still would be a very good and potential great player, but I don't know if he'll be a low post threat next season. I think that's important. But even so, Houston is going to be a good team. Either way, they're going to mold the team around their strengths, but there's different elements of the team that they've had consistently throughout the year. Because Coach Sampson is one of the routine coaches who still plays 2 big men. And if you notice that, not a lot of teams do that. It's 1 big with 4 guards, or their 4 is primarily like a utility player who can stretch 4. And so it was interesting to see that. But this team did as good as they can do. Injuries definitely took a toll. If Jamal doesn't get hurt, they win this game, no question.
Yeah. And let me go back. I'm not going to belabor the point. What I said was, how many of y'all watching thought the Cougs would win the Big 12 with just 3 losses before the season started. Just 3 losses in the Big 12. Nobody. 3 losses in the Big 12? Nobody thought that. Especially after they lost 2 of the first 3. Nobody thought that.
This is a good point by Reed right here. Now, this is something we can discuss, Reed. I like this right here.
Well, that's the question.
Is something.
Yeah.
This is a great question. Great question, Reed. Thank you for participating and continuing. Now, this is something that I would like to preference for the coaching staff. Although we're so dependent on our great player who had such a great season, but I do think staff should have prepared for moments like this, whether it be foul trouble, injuries, to get a player prepared in case of this moment, to be prepared for the worst in case it happens. And Houston wasn't prepared. Although they made adjustments second half, good second half, and like we mentioned, gave credit to the coaches. So hopefully they see that before I say this. But I still think they should have been prepared for a moment like this and had someone ready and to be able to execute some form of a game plan or some form of a leader to step up. LJ stepped up. I will say that. J1 stepped up too. So the leader was the leader. But I still get what Reed is saying with this question, with this comment. And I think that's a question for the coaching staff. And I think they could have did a better job of having the team prepared for it. Although it's your great player, that's kind of nitpicking, but still.
For next year, it's definitely going to be tough. I think you're going to pencil one in right now. Obviously, we don't know who are going to be the players that end up returning and who choose to pursue different opportunities. But think of someone that we would imagine would be back for potentially his 3rd season. You'd have to pencil in Emmanuel Sharp. If he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws in his name to at least go through and get feedback through the NBA draft process this season. But I think you got to pencil in Emmanuel Sharp. Would be entering his 3rd season. And he, from a freshman, from a redshirt, he's been around the program for a while.
Yeah. Terrence, too, I think.
I mean, technically he's a redshirt sophomore, so he joined in January. So he's kind of been here, 2.5, if not 3 full seasons already.
Mm-hmm.
But Coach Sampson will determine who the leader is. Question we have brought up and ponder is who from the portal will replace Jamal Shead. It won't be for a lack of interest from other players. My phone blew up earlier. Well, it's now Saturday. Friday, we think about this kid. We think about what's this kid? Some of those kids that were hit up on me by folks, those kids are not Kelvin Sampson players. I'm not going to mention their names and denigrate them, but y'all can tell what a Kelvin Sampson player is, and some of these kids aren't that. Okay? But it's a question. Who will the staff get to replace Jamal Shead? It's coming from the portal. That much I know. I don't know who it's going to be, but that is the biggest question, because the other positions, if they're healthy, they're fine. They got depth at almost every other position. But boy, that point guard spot, as Coach Sampson said in a recent press conference, you cannot miss on the point guard position when it comes to evaluation. So that is the key. Who are they going to select to be the Jamal Shead? Because he's going to be the starting point guard. So coming from the portal, adjusting to the Kelvin Sampson way, and start for this team that has high expectations next season, that's a lot on the plate.
And also, we must preface that by saying, I think learning from this year is also as equally as important in having a backup point guard, someone that could equally run the offense just as efficient and be a playmaker like Coach Sampson's need going into next year. I think that's equally as important, whether it be one of the younger guards or whoever it be. That way, if that transfer player may be a 1 year, 2 year, never know the case, I think it's important to have that backup point guard and building that player up to be prepared to step up for the following year as well.
I think we might see more minutes from Emmanuel Sharp running the offense next year as the backup to whoever the lead replacement is, as a facilitator kind of offense, someone like that. But it's all going to depend, because Mercy Miller is probably going to redshirt. to grow into the position, grow into the culture. And then we'll see if LJ comes back. I don't know if he does or not. But he could be the spot backup point guard when the lead person sits down for those 5 minutes a game. But no, Ryan Kugel, some of y'all go research how his season ended in Florida. Just gonna say it like that.
Looking ahead at the players that are coming back that we know for sure, Javier Francis, center, solidified. He's going to be the starting center again for Houston.
I don't know about that.
Really? Well, if he's not the starting center, you would imagine that they would get someone from the transfer portal.
Oh no!
Or would they start JoJo Tugler?
That's what I'm saying. It depends on how young fella progresses. I mean, he's coming. It's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
I agree with you, Andy. Yeah. No, Javier is a starting center. I don't even think that's for debate. JoJo is going to be at the 4th spot. Yeah, I think he's going to develop.
If Juwan comes back, will he be?
J1, I'm not even speaking as if J1 is coming back. He's not. I don't think he's coming back.
I think that's more of a certainty than Jamal Shead or anybody else.
I mean, because their professional career, the trajectory is different. So I can envision him coming back and envision that decision different. But I don't think he will. If he do, then that's a different case scenario. But I still would expect Javier to start, even if he did.
Do they? If Juwan Roberts come back and they end up moving Javier Francis to the bench,
he transfers. Javier if Javier is not a starter next year, I will say he'll hit the transfer portal.
Let me say it what I'm saying. If JoJo is better than him in practice, he's going to start. They're not just going to give Jay the
man. I don't care if Javier. If JoJo is in front of J1, he'll hit the portal, and I would suggest he do. Nah.
Okay, but
he ain't coming back to go sit on no bench.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in practice. If JoJo beats him in practice, whose fault is that? If any coach, so you're going to start a player who's not deserving of it? Is that what y'all are saying?
I'm not saying it. I'm just saying from a player's perspective. I'm not even thinking about a coach's decision. That's the coach's decision. I'm looking at it strictly from a player's perspective. And the player's perspective, a player like he is, and how much they talked about him being able to play to get that experience, that shows that he is their center going forward. It makes no sense in the thinking of what they said to even think about him not being a starter. And if what they said, so now you change that coming from what you told a player to, well, you got beat out this year, you go back to the bench. Nah, that don't even make sense.
So it doesn't make sense if JoJo wins a job in practice. That's what I'm saying. If he wins the job in practice, so it doesn't make sense.
Javier is leaving. That's what I say.
Well, again, if JoJo wins the job in practice, that's Jay's problem. That's not Houston's problem.
Whoever problem, it would be Houston's problem because they were missing as a player. So it'd be
I will also preface that's the scenario if Juwan Roberts comes back. Realistic. What if you're going to put a percentage, Chris? What percentage would you put of him coming back?
50, if not higher, because he's going to spend a lot of this offseason getting healthy and going through surgery and stuff like that. Yeah, he's got to get healthy because he's not. He battled through a lot of injuries this season. He's got to get healthy, and that's going to limit his pro possibilities, which may be another reason that he decides to come back.
In that scenario, I guess that'd be for Houston, the coaching staff, that'd be a good problem to have if you're trying to figure out who's going to end up starting if he does indeed come back. Other returning players, Terrence Arsenault, Dan, like you mentioned, I think him definitely is going to be very interesting to see how he comes back because an Achilles injury is definitely one of the bigger ones when it comes to athletes. See how much of an adjustment period it is for him when he comes back from that injury, where he's at, and what that progress is for him. Emmanuel Sharp, all likelihood, probably comes back, and then you have the players that redshirted, Cedric Lott as well, who got some playing time experience. Granted, it wasn't necessarily the plan, and it wasn't significant amount, but he did get good stretches where he got some experience that they didn't necessarily expect. And then the redshirts this year in Cordell Jefferson, Jacob McFarland, where do they fit in potentially in the rotation?
Talent won't be an issue next year, okay, or this offseason. That won't be an issue.
And the two signees as well. I forgot about them, but Chase McCarty, Mercy Miller.
Again, go back to what I said. Talent won't be an issue for this team. Getting kids from the portal won't be an issue. It's going to be a question of fit. They're getting phone calls already. Have been since the portal opened. Coach, hey, I'm in the portal now. I'm considering coming to y'all. You know, they get all that from talented players. So the staff will have to sit down and assess. Okay, if you bring in this player, they might have to say goodbye to that player. If these guys come back, we don't have any room. So the roster may change. If they bring in some veterans, some talented veterans, why would Cordell Jefferson want to hang around? Unless he wants to wait. Will he be good waiting another year? This team, they were too young last year. Coach Sampson said it with Jarris Walker. They were young last season. They got more mature, more veterans for this season. But youngsters in today's day and age, will Jacob McFarland, as much as Coach Sampson believes in Jacob and his potential, says he has a high ceiling. If they go get, I'm not saying they go get a talented big man in the portal. Jacob, wait one more year. Coach, I don't want to do that. I'm ready to play. Talent won't be an issue for this team. It's going to be fit. That's going to be the issue. And it all starts at that point guard spot.
Yeah, I agree. Talent definitely won't be an issue. I think it's just the point guard spot is definitely important. But I also think that the team already has veterans coming back, like Coach Sam's. The veterans that they had this year have been developed within the system. Same thing coming back next year. We got veterans with Terrence, with Emmanuel, with Javier, with JoJo, who's going to be a seasoned sophomore. Those are what you consider as collegiate veterans. And so you can bring in another veteran point guard, or the case may be, but you got big man already. You got Jacob McFarland. You got JoJo coming back. And so, and you got the guards. I think I can envision Mercy playing his freshman year in a spotted minutes role. I think I can envision him having a role not similar to Nate had his freshman year, because I think they're different players, but I can envision him having some form of a role and being able to add something offensively. Because you look at the Achilles heel of this team, it wasn't defensively, it was offensively. Having people to put the ball in the basket and they can win a one-on-one matchup. Even watching this game tonight without Jamal, that's still the name of the game. You can be as tough as you want, you can play as hard as you want, you can do all that for 40 minutes, but it still comes down to who can beat your man off the dribble, put the ball in the hole. Who can do it? Mercy can do that. And so regardless, I think he'll be able to he'll have to earn it in practice. And if he can do that, I expect to have some form of a role. But I think they have veterans already coming back with some of the core players that they have returning. Just about adding and like Chris said, picking in those pieces and plugging them in, picking them the right way, evaluating the right way.
Real quickly to answer Big Bob's comment. Jamal said NBA talent, whether he's first or second round because of his size. Everyone else, I think, at most, at least to start, they would have to work their way up from the G League, if not play overseas.
Everybody else is overseas player. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The next NBA potential is JoJo, and with continued improvement, Terrence Arsenault. As of right now.
Yeah, if Emmanuel it's able on like that third gear.
Right now he doesn't have a true position. Right now he doesn't have an NBA position.
Yeah, if he's able to create off the dribble, off the bounce consistently next year, that could be something where he talks his way into some conversations. Real quickly, I want to make the final ad break for today's show, tonight's show, morning show, however you want to call it. Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. Again, big thank you to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor all season long. This is Let's Rage Coogs, the original Houston postgame show after each and every single men's basketball and football game. We'd also like to say thank you to Star Pizza for being a sponsor on today's episode. Let's hear one message from them, courtesy of the Ryan Elvin Fan Club.
I have favorite places to eat, but only one place can be the official spot of the Ryan Elvin Fan Club, Houston's own Star Pizza. Whether we're grabbing a New York slice or a Chicago-style pizza, a salad with homemade dressing, or feasting on the Tuesday lunch buffet, my friends at Star Pizza always make me feel right at home. 3 locations in the Houston area, plenty of room in the dining rooms or the private room for your group. Plus, it's super easy to order online at starpizza.net. Don't forget to get a Cougar Red Velvet Cupcake when you place your order. Tell them Ryan Elvin sent you.
Once again, big thank you to Star Pizza. They were also supporters of Let's Rage Cougs going back to the beginning of the football season. So big thank you to Jennifer and Mike Pittman, courtesy of Hoop and Holler, for helping being partners all year long. We also like to say thank you to BB's Tex Orleans, who has been a sponsor for Let's Rage Cougs throughout the NCAA Tournament run. BB's Tex Orleans has 14 locations to serve you. Build your boil with BB's today. And last but not least, we also like to say thank you to Vincent Harding, who is also a UH Cougars alum, and he is a real estate broker. Vincent Harding, if you're interested in contacting him for services, you can do so at 832-758-2712. He is a sponsor of today's ticker that you see at the bottom of the screen. Once again, if you're just joining us, final score: the Houston Cougars fall to the Duke Blue Devils 54-51 in the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA Tournament. And that is the end of the Houston Cougars season. Unfortunately for the Cougars, that's not where they wanted. It ended a little bit early, and obviously different storylines throughout the game. The big one being Jamal Shed and his ankle. Chris, Dayon, I'll toss it over to you. What would you guys say, recapping this season? I think we can all agree the biggest accomplishment, the big storyline, was being as successful as they were in the Big 12 Conference in their inaugural year. Quite frankly, they made it look at times in stretches. It looked like how they have been for the past 5-6 years in the American Athletic Conference. Like we mentioned, only 3 conference losses all year long in the regular season, and they couldn't have asked for a better debut in the Big 12.
It's just, I'll just say this. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. It just sucks that this team, the injuries derailed this team for reaching its full potential. That's all. And I do not believe Jamal Shed rolling his ankle was because of fatigue. That's bad luck. Okay. Terrence Arsenault injured his Achilles in a game in December when he was near no one else on the floor. That's not fatigue. Okay. It's not the style of play that the Cougars, the physicality. It's bad luck. I don't know what it is, what we can do to get rid of the bad luck, but it happens. Hopefully one of these seasons, the Cougars will be as healthy as possible, because I'm not even sure you can have guys at this point of the season at 95, 100% in March, but at least peaking injury-wise without injuries come tournament time. Hopefully that happens at some point.
Yeah, hopefully it does. I mean, everything Chris said, I seconded. Injuries definitely played a part, derailed the season. I think without the injuries, his team had the potential to go further than what they did, and still had a chance without losing their best player. And so, I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the game. I don't know. I don't believe in luck per se. I just say it's fate, in my opinion. I call it fate, and it's part of the Houston Cougar fate. Now it's about preparing for the worst and having the depth and the players in place in case something does happen, and hopefully the chips fall where they may.
I will also add this real quickly, Chris.
Mhm.
The comments about Kelvin Sampson adjusting how they practice to reduce injuries. That's not going to happen under Kelvin Sampson. He coaches one way. They practice so hard. The day he changes, it will be the day he retires. I don't see that happening under Kelvin Sampson. It's part of their identity.
It is. It's part of their identity, their culture. They practice hard. They go at it hard. But to the line edge, that's a new name I haven't seen or don't recall too often on our shows. Cordell Jefferson, the injuries. I mean, he has surgery on each wrist, okay? His right and his left wrist. He played his senior year in high school with both wrists injured.
And he didn't know about it.
He didn't know about it, okay? He wondered why the form on his shot had changed. That's how tough he is. He just played through it. He arrived on campus. Cordell, son, you got broken bones in your wrist. Do I? That's how tough he is. But I'm not sure position-wise what's best for him, but they'll figure it out. Again, talent is no longer an issue for this program. Fit is the issue going forward. Fit and staying healthy. They get the good fit, the right fit, and they're healthy. They're going to continue winning because this staff knows what it's doing to produce victories. Look forward to it.
Looking forward to it too. And I forgot to mention Ramon Walker coming back as a veteran next year as well. And I don't know if he needs to move off power forward. I will say I think his role needs to be expanded. If it is being the first 4 man coming off the bench, or first player coming off the bench at that 4th spot, having expanded minutes, I think he can show even more than what he can do. In my opinion, I think Coach Sampson limits him in what he's capable of doing. I think he speaks of him as if he's just only a rebounder, and he's shown when he knocked down that 3, it looked good. He shot that second 3, it looked good. So that lets me know. Coach Sampson and staff sees it more than I do. I will preface by saying that. But I think he can do more. He has the skill set, the athleticism to do more if he's given the opportunity to do so. So I would love to see his role expand more if he's coming off the bench at that first 4 and play even a bigger role. I would love to see that.
I'd like to see him more. I mean, we're splitting hairs, but I'd like to see him and Terrence on the floor together.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They just worry about who's the 3, who's the 4. It won't matter.
Yeah, it don't matter.
They'll complement each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
And salute to Ramon. The form on his shot, now that he's healthy, is much better. Because when it was...
We saw it last season.
Yeah, it was
before he got shut down.
Nothing, man.
It looked like he had a hitch on it.
Yeah. So that's a positive going forward, that the form on his shot is returning to what it used to be with the arc on it. So that could be a positive going forward for him to work on. Because like I said, the talent and the versatility on this team next season is really promising. But the biggest question is who is going to be the starting point guard for this team. Because every other position, I think, would be too deep with quality. But point guard is the biggest position. Starting point guard, because I think they'll have a backup point guard. And I do agree with Dan. They need to have another person back up that one. They need to have more than one guy who can beat his man off the dribble and get buckets. No question. But, that could be Terrence next year. It could be different guys. There are different guys who have the potential. But let's see it.
On that note, let's hear what Kelvin Sampson and Juwan Roberts had to say following the 54-51 loss to Duke in the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA Tournament.
Okay, we are ready to begin our news conference with the University of Houston head coach Kelvin Sampson. His student athlete will be Juwan Roberts, who should be here shortly. So we will go to questions for Coach Sampson. Who wants to go first? I think here on the right side on the inside aisle.
Coach, can you specify what Jamal's injury was, and 2, what his absence meant to your team ultimately?
grade 4 sprain. He's probably going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. That was really tough locker room at halftime. But it didn't take a lot to convince those kids that we could still win. You know, that's just kind of what we've done all year. You know, we've dealt with this all year. But as far as answering your question, what did it mean ultimately? He's first-team All-American. He's a Big 12 Player of the Year. He's a Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He's the heart and soul of this team. I doubt any team in America has maybe Edie from Purdue that means as much to their team as Jamal would mean to this team. There's just not another Jamal. I mean, he was the best player on the floor tonight. He's been the best player on the floor every game we've played this year, except a few. You know, we got a 1 seed because of his leadership, his toughness, his ability to make everybody better. We didn't have another. You don't have another Jamal. You said, well, who's your point guard to replace Jamal? We don't have a point guard to replace Jamal. Those guys are. You know, we've had guys to go in and rest him, but get him back in. But you know, sometimes that's just God's work. It just wasn't our time. I couldn't be more proud of our team, though. You know, we're still in a position to win the game. We held that team to 54 points. I mean, second chance points, they were +2. Points off turnovers were +5. Fast break points, they had none. We had 2. You know, we had some plays that I wish we would have made that we certainly could have made, but we were in a position to win the game without Jamal. Obviously, with Jamal, it's a totally different story, but that's neither here nor there, is it? So, but proud of my kids, resilient, tough, just like they've been all year. My disappointment came in not just in losing, but not being able to coach them tomorrow. I love coaching this team. I really did. This is an unbelievable group of young men.
Okay, we are now joined by Juwan Roberts. Why don't we move from Coach to Juwan, and then we'll come back for Coach in a bit. So questions now for our student athlete, and I think we have one right here toward the back on Juwan's right.
Ishmael Johnson, Dave Campbell's. Juwan, you know, when Jamal goes out, Coach yesterday was talking about your leadership and how you two were kind of the pillars of this culture. You know, when you see him go out, what goes through your mind and how do you kind of proceed through the game?
Just, you know, try to be the voice of the team. You know, he's the head of the snake. You know, he's a leader. When he goes, we goes. And, you know, my job when he's on and off the court is still lead by example, you know, and just try to take everybody else under my wing and just try to be a leader that I am. You know, when he went down, you know, it was hard to see, but, you know, we got confidence in each other, you know, that we're going to stay together, you know, and play for him. It happened to me when I played against Texas Tech, and I went down pretty hard. And, you know, they all came together and said, we're going to do this for Juan. So it's just, the way I look at it, this is just deeper than basketball. And, you know, it wasn't the outcome, you know, that we wanted, but I don't think nobody quit. You know, I don't think nobody gave up. You know, everybody just kept fighting. You look up, we down 1, you know, we down 2, down 3. It wasn't like it was a 15-point lead and we just quit. So, you know, definitely proud of the guys, you know, and not giving up, you know, knowing we didn't have our lead on the floor, but just, you know, trusting each other. But it wasn't an outcome that we wanted.
Okay, straight ahead.
Juwan, Tim Kalishaw, Dallas Morning News. it was 8-3 at the first time out, and you had all the points. I think Francis had a basket, but all the points right inside. You're killing them inside. Obviously, the game changed for a number of reasons, but what did they do to make the physical battle more even as the game went on? Because it looked like you had control early.
Foul trouble.
Yeah, just foul trouble. Just, some fouls that was, pointless. End of the shot clock fouls, reaching fouls. Just did little discipline areas that we did. But I would say that was the main part. Just not being a discipline, but just, silly fouls.
Okay, in the middle here on the left.
So once again, that was Houston Cougars head coach Kelvin Sampson, who you heard at the beginning of the clip, and senior forward Juwan Roberts, who you heard at the end. And then Kelvin Sampson reiterated the importance of Jamal Shead. There is no other Jamal Shead. There's no other. He does everything. Big 12 Player of the Year, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And then when you hear Juwan Roberts speak as well, how much it meant, not just in terms of the season coming to an end today, but overall what it meant to the entire team as a whole. Mentioned the resilience for Houston. Not a single team, not a single person thought that the game was over. And like we talked on, it's a big reason why it came down to the final stretch, because they fought to the bitter end and ultimately came up a couple of inches short. And that's, again, the cutthroat reality of March, cutthroat business of March. Duke advances, Houston loses. And what Kelvin Sampson said about Jamal Shead's injury, grade 4 sprain, would have been out 4 to 6 weeks. So even had Houston won, he would have been done for the remainder of the tournament.
Yeah, that's key. He would have been done. So if they would have won the day, he would not play Sunday.
It would have been really hard for Houston to win a championship.
So it's just injuries are part of it. They had a chance. And ultimately in the tournament, it's not a series. It's one and done. They had a chance. That shot Emmanuel Sharp had was online. It was short. Juan talked about it, about the fouls here and there, fouling the three-point shooter, 1.1 second on the shot clock, things like that. But the Cougs had a chance, and that's all you can ask for every year. This team, agree. Dayon, Andy, everybody watching. This team next year will have a chance to win national championship. As long as Kelvin Sampson is in charge, I think Kelvin Sampson as well. As long as they're in charge, this team will have a chance to compete for a national championship. At one point, got to cut the nets down, hopefully, but come a long way to get to this point.
Yeah, I like what Jay Wan said. You can tell nobody quit. We kept fighting. The 3-point ball game, 2-point, 1-point, it didn't matter. We just kept fighting. And I think that's the mark of the program. Keep fighting. And they believed they had a chance to win, and they did have a chance to win. So that shows the toughness. And like people talking about practice helps prepare them for the team that we see how well that they perform. And so I like Chris alluded to, I don't think that had nothing to do with the injuries that transpired throughout the season. But this team is a hell of a tough team. Coach Sampson is a great coach. And like he said, I mean, it's hard to prepare. Although I said you want to kind of have someone in case of moments like this, when you have a player who's so great like Jamal has been all year, it's kind of hard to prepare for not having him because you expect to have him, and he's been so great. And so, man, tough way to go out, but I'm proud of this team. Still wonder, when will they get over the hump in regards to being take that next step in regards to being a tier? Yeah, they're consistent every year. Yeah, they're good. Yes, they are title contenders. But at the end of the day, Sweet 16 is Sweet 16. To me, it's not a. To me, in my opinion, it's not a it's a good accomplishment because I think it's hard to get there. I will say it's hard to get there, and I'm proud of this team and how they got there. But the winner in me won't celebrate a Sweet 16. I celebrate wins and championships.
And see, let's talk about that, because Ken Wild Entertainment this is where the program is now. And this is for the fans to decide. And Dan touched on it. Will fans accept, I don't know if I want to say tolerate, if Houston becomes Gonzaga the next 10 years? Gets to the Sweet 16, gets to an Elite Eight, gets to a Final Four, but doesn't win a national championship for the next 10 years. Would those seasons be failures, disappointments? At what point will it become a point of one season? Is it national title or bust? Is Houston at that point now? But I mean, Coach Sam's not going to coach much longer. A while ago, a couple years ago, I think he said he wants to retire when he's 70. Well, he's getting close to that. So what do the fans think? Will you be disappointed if the next 3 years they get to the championship game once and the Final Four once and Elite Eight once, but don't cut down the nets and win it all? Will that be a failure? Will that be a bust, as Ken said?
I think I'll take a stab at that first. I think when the expectation is national title and the consistency proves that you're in a tournament, I think the expectation is what makes it a bust. And so I think that's a good thing. Although we're labeling it as a bust, that still doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means you didn't reach your ultimate goal, your ultimate accomplishment. But you still can celebrate the journey and what your accomplishment. But ultimately, you didn't really succeed and win the entire thing. So it was a bust per se. And so I think it's the expectation of being national contenders, but without fulfilling that, I would agree that you can label it as a bust. I will label this season as a bust, although, like I just prefaced by saying, you can celebrate the Sweet 16 and overcoming adversity, winning the Big 12, all those things that we should celebrate. But in my opinion, it's about championships.
And it's about, like Dayon said, the expectation too. It's really hard when you, and especially in college, there's 351 teams that play at the Division I level. There's only one champion at the end of every year. The fact with Houston and the expectations that they've had, and you guys can agree or disagree, but I think this loss to Duke has a very, very different feel than the loss to Miami last year in the same round, Sweet 16. Now, last year, Chris, you mentioned that team very much more younger. They relied on 3 freshmen, and obviously Jarvis Walker was the big one. A lot of expectations put on that team, a lot of hype put on that team, and we know that they had injury problems of their own. But when they lost in the Sweet 16 round to Miami, it was very disappointing because unlike this game, there wasn't really ever that fight from Houston, at least at the end. They had one run where they got it to within 2, and then Miami took over at the end. Whereas turning around this year, they obviously, we not to keep harping on, we know the injuries, but they went down with the ship and they went out fighting hard. So I don't think anybody is labeling this season a failure, rather than, like Kelvin Sampson put it, like the injuries, they are what they are. They're part of the game. They had too many to overcome and try to figure out, rebuild your team and come back next year. But I would really struggle to call this year a failure just because of how it ended up being. Even though it's a part of the game, you can't overcome, especially once Jamal Shaw went down. It's very hard to overcome all those injuries.
Agreed. And I think last year's team had more hype than this year's team.
Yeah.
Just Walker with the 5-star and the Final Four being in Houston and want to get to Houston and, all of that. And that team, Jarris with the elbow injury was more serious than he ever really said. And I think he had to have surgery with the Pacers, so because he played through an injury. But this team did not have as much hype, but it was still a top 5, top 10 program going in. It was picked to finish second in the Big 12 behind Kansas because of the respect the coaches have for Kelvin Sampson as a head coach. So this team will be good. But I would, if the Cougs would have played UConn in the championship game, I'd have picked UConn. So I don't believe this team was UConn good, especially this team without the injuries. The injuries robbed them of their maximum potential. So they never were going to be at that level because of the injuries. 2 key players, clearly, Terrence and JoJo. Next year, it all comes down. We'll talk about it looking ahead, but it all comes down to who is going to be the starting point guard for this team next year. We need to do a show when the Cougs sign whoever that is in the portal and discuss it. We need to do a show and evaluate what we think is going to happen with that young man in charge of the offense.
I just seen the video on Twitter that I think Leland posted that LJ said that he's keeping the door open and returning next year to Houston. I don't know if you can pull it up, Andy, and play it. I just saw it on Twitter as well. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be – I agree with you, Chris. We definitely should do that and give our opinions and our takes what's to come.
Is it a video comment or is it just a?
It's a video comment. It's a video comment. Yeah, it's a video comment.
You said it was Starnes?
Let me see if I see it. I think it was Starnes.
I think a lot of the guys will come back.
Malik said he'll be playing college basketball next year. He didn't specify in regards to Houston. Because remember, he entered the portal but came back to Houston. So now that he has more tape, maybe he may look to leave again. No, it was Josh Criswell. It wasn't Leland. Sorry about that.
Well, while we wait, what do you guys think? Does Malik Wilson come back and play for Houston next year? Because a
while ago, he told me he would. A while ago, he told me
Houston have a spot for him.
Again, like I say, talent won't be an issue for this team. It's going to be fit. There are positions that probably could be upgraded talent-wise. The staff will figure it out. They will evaluate their options and see and decide who is a better fit via the portal or who's a better fit with development. At minimum, we can say that this team, they're not going to struggle to win games next year. Okay.
Yeah.
It won't be, barring this whole bunch of injuries, like 5, the entire starting lineup, out for the year. This team is going to win 25 games next year. All those things. That's an expectation. Just a question of how far they will go, starting with that point guard spot.
Here's a
clip. Go ahead. So go ahead, Andy.
Here's a clip that Dan was talking about, courtesy of Josh Criswell, who writes for Cron.com.
A lot of good guys. Love being around these guys, and although we didn't achieve our ultimate goal, I'm definitely proud of this team, and we'll see what the future holds.
Are you seeing what the future holds? Are you kind of keeping that door open to potentially coming back for one more year?
Yeah, I mean, you never know how things are going to work out, so I'm never going to shut that door, especially after this type of year. I feel like this is the most fun I ever had in college, and I just felt like everyone here is genuine, and I feel like Coach Samp wholeheartedly believed in me, and so I can't shut that door.
So once again, that video courtesy of Josh Criswell from Cron.com. So looks like he's more than open to returning to U of H if the opportunity presents himself. I'm sure a big factor into that will be what he hears from a potential professional career, but door is there, the opportunity is there. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, or I would welcome him back just from strictly from a fan's perspective. I would welcome Malik back as well, but I would have a preference just as a fan. I wouldn't say a preference. I wouldn't prefer, but if he moved on, I wouldn't be surprised, or I wouldn't, just because of he's would have 1 year eligibility, and I think he can do more with more time, but I think with developing some of the younger guards that Houston have, I think it'd be more ideal for the program to invest more in a younger player.
And Mercy Miller, not redshirting, NIL, famous dad. Those are all true. But who's in charge of the program? Master P or Kelvin Sampson? And when I say about Mercy Miller, hey, he's got a bright future. But if the Cougs upgrade the backcourt, LJ comes back. If they sign a starting point guard, if they decide to have Terrence start at 3, and you have Emmanuel in the backcourt, then where's Mercy going to play? And you still have Cordell Jefferson. Again, if Damian Dunn comes back, where are the minutes going to come from for these young men?
Chris, like you said earlier, one of your points, it's about practice. If he plays well in practice, if he earns a spot in practice, it don't matter about none of those names. It's about practice and earning. Because you referenced the head guy in charge. And what does he value? Practice and talent. He's going to play the best players. He ain't coming in with none of that favoritism, none of that your dad, none of that matters. Who is coming in? Who's the best players? Who's practicing hard? And Mercy's been committed for so long, and I think he has an idea in a sense of what it's going to take to earn minutes. I think with having the father and the access and the resource that he has, he's a player that will come in and be ready and have that transition. Maybe not as long as some other freshmen. Who knows, though?
But going more with that, is he going to beat out Emmanuel Sharp? Is he going to beat out LJ Cryer?
To your point, I'm using your own argument against you.
That's
your argument against you.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. If he does, then he's a hell of a player. Okay? I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. If he does, I'm going to his point about his famous father. That has nothing to do with him playing. His famous father, I don't care about that. If he earned the time, he'll play. That's what I'm saying. I don't care about Master P being his dad. So what?
Yeah, that don't mean nothing.
If he earned the time, he's got a bright future then. If he does that, that's a talent upgrade. And that's what the Cougs are trying to get upgraded at position. If he's better than Malik, if he's better than Cordell, that's great. Each year you want to upgrade the talent on your roster. And in college sports, semi-pro sports, as I call it, this is business. Not trying to hurt feelings or anything like that. If guys come in and earn the minutes, then some guys are going to have to go. That's just how it is. But you don't want to disrupt the culture by doing it. I want the most talented players and the best fit on this team going forward, whoever that is.
Yep, I think we can all agree with that comment, Chris. Ken Wow Entertainment, going back to the question we kind of posed a little bit earlier about expectations. He says, Cougars will be elite next year. Just staying healthy is the issue. He says, being a good team is no big deal anymore. Coach has to take the next step. So it seems like he's in the boat about
next step for Coach.
The next step is to win the national championship. I would imagine that's the only thing that's left.
Yeah. How does he do that? What does he need to do in regards to philosophies? Is there anything that you guys are seeing maybe that he can tweak and take that next step? Is it more than just health? Do you guys have any critiques of Coach Sample, or is it just he's a good coach and he just needs to be healthy and we'll win it?
I like to see more guys who can score off the bounce, beat the person off the dribble. I like more three-point threats, dead-eye three-point shooters. And as much, I like him to go within the low post as a hub more. And Xavier Francis is not there yet for low post consistency in the low post. If he can develop that low post consistency where teams will double team him because they know if they don't, it's a bucket, that'll help the offense overall.
Also, I'm a little confused about picking up developmental players. Can't elaborate about that. What do you mean by developmental players?
Yeah, because that's what the Cougs are known for, developing players. That's what they do. You know, Jamal Shep was what, a 2-star? If he anything in high school, They developed him.
And I don't know if he's referencing picking up transfers. Quentin Grimes was a development transfer. So I don't know what he means by that. If you care to elaborate, we can have discourse about that. But I don't understand.
H-Town Big Dog says he'd like to see Coach Sampson, similar to you, Chris, find a big man who hasn't started playing basketball at the age of 15. Well, he took a shot at Cedric Lott. No, Ken didn't reiterate. He just said stop picking up developmental players.
Interesting.
I mean, he said Lott is a developmental player. You know, he's been playing ball, 4 or 5 years. Javier France has been playing basketball 7 years. This program has been known for developing players. And there was a name mentioned earlier in the comments, young man from UNLV. What's his name? De'Don Thomas. Played with Said in high school. He might be in the portal. Again, the Cougs it won't be an issue for them with phone calls and who to decide who they want to get to replace Jamal Shead. It's going to come down to who is going to be the best fit to run the offense in place of Jamal Shead. That's what it's going to come down to.
Jay Mitch says he'd like to see Coach Sampson go in the direction of a taller big that can shoot well and from the free throw line as well.
Best big that Houston's had under his tenure has been Josh Carlton, most complete center.
Mm-hmm.
And in the low post, he was money. He was money. And when he got him from the portal, right? He transferred over. I mean, it's
and
just
they
a
were really
question.
close to getting to a back-to-back final.
And he was a development player.
Yeah, and he came here and got better. It got in better shape, better conditioning, and improved throughout the season. No, because it's very few college players anywhere will come to a team polished and not develop. That's the point of college, right? To get better.
Yeah.
To get better in college,
As far as getting better, Javier got better throughout this season. Coach Kellen Sampson has been quoted by saying, and Coach Kelvin as well, as they didn't get a big man because they believe the experience that Javier needed was playing. And I think he did that. So now, because we kind of haven't talked about his development next season, I think he definitely needs to get stronger and he'll gain more confidence. I think once he gets stronger and with that, I think he can develop next season into becoming a low post threat. Because when he's caught it and if he has the confidence, he can have hook shots with his left and his right hand. And so I think if he can work on that and develop that even more, be a little bit more aggressive, I think he can even take that next step and be even a more well-rounded post player.
Agreed. And talking about Malik, again, let me reiterate. The job for the staff is to upgrade the talent on the roster. If they get somebody better than Malik, they get somebody better than you, pick a player. The job of the staff is to upgrade the talent on the roster and maintain the fit and the culture of the program. That's what they're going to do, which is going to, I say it again, talent won't be an issue for next year's team. That point guard, that starting point guard spot is the question. That is it.
We
If
shall
Terrence
see.
comes back, Doja comes back, if LJ comes back, a lot more of these guys may come back than we may even realize right now. And then that's the case, then it really is going to be a veteran team with JoJo, Terrence, Ramon, Cordell, Jacob, an improvement from another year from Sid and Javier. Listen to all that. Listen to all those names we just rolled off. Point guard. That's the spot. Point guard.
Yeah, we shall see. It's barely now Saturday, March 30th. A lot to go between now and whenever Houston opens the 25 season going back
Okay,
to November.
here we go from the line judge about Jarris Walker started one and done. You get top recruits, they are higher than but you know what? How you get a lot of, not all, but a lot of those 5-star players, especially in today's time, you got to pay them.
NIL. And Ken
pay
did
them a lot.
He elaborated too.
Okay, so paying them. Jarris came here. He wasn't being. He was one of the different kind of dudes. He wanted to be coached hard. He wanted to be improved, and he had NIL deals. So the money wasn't an issue for him. He wanted Coach Samps to get on his behind and help him get and do what, Dayon? To develop him.
And I think
even as a 5-star.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think we also have to mention that there are other 5-stars who have the pairing and the guidance like Jarris had and want the same thing that he wanted. And so, but even within that, this program shouldn't, in my opinion, and won't turn into a one-and-done program. No. But I think Coach Sampson will continue to go after some of those players. And like Chris saying, some of them do want him back. Let's be clear on that. But some of them, like Chris also just alluded to, want the development, want the coaching, want the structure, especially knowing that they're going to transition to the next level and how that could benefit them going forward.
And I cannot remember the young man's name. He's class of 25 or 26. He's like top 3 in his class, state of Alabama. He's a guard, like 6'4", 6'5" guard, I think. But he's a 5-star, considering Houston. So it's not, I go back to it, it's not an issue, not a question of getting talent to come here to the Houston program. 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. The Cougs are a national program now. It's going to come to fit. Because it's going to be talented players here, how they fit. And then we'll talk about, knock on wood, healthy for the tournament.
The line Kelvin Sampson always says they don't recruit players, they evaluate players. That goes from the transfers to coming out straight out of high school. So one and done, 5 stars. There's a reason why U of H hasn't gotten a lot, especially even over the course of the past 2-3 years that U of H has been nationally relevant. And in addition to the point that you mentioned, Chris, where a lot of those 5 stars are looking for an NIL bag, which Calvin Sampson has addressed multiple times throughout the course of Zoom sessions, where if they mention NIL, he says we don't negotiate NIL. That's something that when they evaluate a kid, they want him to come to Houston because they're trusting the coaching staff. They want to develop. They're coming with the mindset that Houston is looking for. And then once they get here, obviously they have NIL that they'll benefit. So like y'all both touched on, it's just a matter of philosophy, mindset. And for however much longer Kelvin Sampson's the coach, I don't imagine that changing. If Kellen Sampson does indeed step in and he's the head coach, but change for the foreseeable future.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. Coach Sampson said it. If there's a 5-star kid, and there's some kids who, and I've heard this, who told the staff, okay, when I get there, I'm going to start it when I get there from day one. After I get the bag, I'm going to start from day one. No, you're not. You're going to earn your minutes like everybody else. Oh, well, then I'm not coming. Bye. There are some kids like that. Some kids with their parents or their, what they want to say, their handlers, their people around them who think they can come into the Houston program and dictate. Those kids will not be part of the Houston Cougar program. That's not how they operate. And that's not going to change either under Kellen or Kelvin Sampson. Not going to happen. What is this from H-Time Big Dog? What is that? Just give that last text. What is that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, Crabtree brings up a good point. The Cougars had the 8th pick and the 25th pick in the NBA draft last year. Getting talent isn't the issue. It's just been fortune, especially the past 3 years, 3 seasons.
And that's, hey, at some point we believe, we choose to believe the fate will smile on Houston and the Nets will be cut down by the Cougs. And I'm not going to talk for Dan and Andy, but I will act ignorant on the court if that happens.
I'll be right with you. Right with you.
It's only once an opportunity. It's been years of the program, decades of the program, and then it's going to add at least one more year top of that, Chris. If you're not acting the fool, there's something wrong with you. To celebrate your school, your alma mater, being a national champion. But it's crossed past 1 a.m. here in the Central Time Zone, and we could keep talking about. There's so much to discuss about what is to come with Houston. I think the comment that said it best, and I'm trying to find it. It was from one of our viewers on Twitter, or X, if I can find it. It was earlier in the show. To scroll, but yeah, Mark said it best. As long as Kelvin Sampson is back, it will be good.
Yeah,
it will be all good, and they'll be top 10 in the AP poll whenever November rolls around, and they're gonna be competitive. They're gonna be at the top when it comes to non-conference play, which will include I know one of the key criticisms of non-conference this year, there wasn't maybe necessarily one of those headliner programs. When you think of non-conference play, you know that they're going to play Kansas and Mexico City for non-conference. And Chris, for
go ahead and say it.
Thanksgiving week.
They're going to play in Vegas. Yeah, they're going to play in Vegas in NIL tournament. It's Thanksgiving week, so that this year will be the last week of November. Got to dot those I's and cross those T's. But yeah, the Cougs are going to be a participant unless something changes at the last minute. They will be one of those participants in that new inaugural NIL tournament taking place in Las Vegas.
Which I'd imagine is going to be a high caliber opponent and is going to get a lot of eyeballs on national television. So they'll be back. They have been for the past 5 straight years that they've made it to a minimum of the Sweet 16, 6 straight years in the NCAA tournament. So it's just a matter of to see what they do and how the pieces fit.
Yeah, and next year, Arizona joins the conference, so the conference games will be even more intense. The Big 12 will still be an elite conference in men's basketball. I'm looking forward to it. The talent will still be good next year. The Cougs will still be a top 10 team next year. The Cougs will still get to the tournament, and they will see how far they can go and how healthy they will be on their journey.
With that being said, that's going to do it for today's episode. For tonight's morning's Let's Rage Cougs post-game show. Once again, a big thank you, first and foremost, a big thank you to each and every single person that has taken the time out of their day, their night, their morning to watch us over any minute over the course of the entire season, going way back during the beginning of the football season through basketball in November through now at 1:04 in the morning on Saturday, March 30th, following Houston's loss to Duke in the Sweet 16. We thank you for allowing us to do this for another season now. This is the 3rd season, the 2nd full season that we've done each and every single game for both football and men's basketball. And we'll be back as well in September. We won't be anywhere when it comes to the post-game shows. And we'll be back whenever news breaks because the portal is open. There will be news eventually that come. And we will be here to talk about it and discuss it. So big thank you to everyone that's taking time to watch. A big thank you to Steve Saxenian for being a primary sponsor for the men's basketball shows. Like I said earlier, big thank you to Mike and Jennifer Pittman with Start Pizza for being a sponsor on today's episode. And similar to Steve Saxenian being a sponsor all season long, thank you to Alyssa Ride with BB's Tex Orleans and Maricela as well with BB's Tex Orleans for being sponsors throughout the NCAA tournament. And last but not least, thank you to Vincent Harding for being a sponsor throughout the entire NCAA tournament run as well here for Let's Rage Coogs as being a sponsor for the ticker. That being said, Chris, I'll toss it over to you. Any final thoughts where people can find you? And I mean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, as always, to Andy, Dayon, and everybody who's taking part in today's conversation on Let's Rage Coogs. I'm a part of the Guy V. Lewis Award Committee. We're going to recognize the 10 finalists of the 2024 Guy V. Lewis Award, which goes to the top high school boys player. This Monday evening, April 1st, we're going to announce the winner of the award. There are 5 juniors and 5 seniors who are up for the award. So just follow me on the platforms or follow Guy V. Lewis Award on Twitter, as well as go to the website, guyvlewisaward.org, to see who wins the award. Yes, I already know who it is because I've already seen the votes and the results. But Monday, the press release will be announced. But it stinks the Cougs lost the way they lost because of the injury Jamal Shed and blah, 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 blah. But they lost 54-51. They had a chance to win. That's all you can ask for. Follow me on Houston Roundbar Review on the platforms, Instagram, TikTok, the YouTube channel, Threads, Spoutable, etc. We'll see you as soon as we have some breaking news regarding Cougs signings from the portal. But thank you very much. And always remember this. Since 1994, the Houston Round Ball Review. Local name, global perspective.
And I want to also start by thanking all of our supporters, everyone who commented, who took time to watch us, retweet, anything that you've done. We appreciate you guys supporting us and being involved with us. We really, really do appreciate it. And also, I'd like to echo the same sentiments in regards to our sponsors who invested in our show and see the vision of us and saw that we're building and we're continuing to build going forward. Also like to shout out to KG, Chris Gardner, and Andy for being great partners on this show. I wouldn't rather do this show without any one of you guys. Shout out to Miles, one of our consistent followers and being part of our show. He's looked forward to being part of us throughout this entire season. Looking forward to this upcoming basketball season, football season. Proud of Jamal Shed. I appreciate his career. Remember calling his game at high school and telling Miles early in his career, no, we got a great one. He's going to have a great career. And, man, what a career he had. I enjoyed watching him play. Jaywan as well. I don't know if he comes back or not, but I want to give those two their flowers, and I appreciate watching them and what they did for Houston. And I'm a proud Houston alum. Coach Sampson and staff, I believe in you guys. I'm a supporter, and I can't wait to see what's in store. And I can't wait for the time that Coach Sampson wins a title, cuts those necks down while at Houston and earns his statue. And as always, man, it's go Cougs. Win, lose, or draw. Good season. Our time is coming.